So you want to make a sock blank. Let's get started. I am going to be using a few different tools here today. We are going to use this machine. It is a knitting machine. It has 48 pegs. Honestly, it doesn't really matter how you get the blank. If you don't have one of these knitting machines, you can knit by hand. You can knit a tube or knit, I feel like knitting a circular tube is probably what I would prefer. I just wanted to show, like, you can make a sock tube. You don't have to have all the equipment I have today, but what I have does make it easier and quicker. It's going to be a lot quicker by using a knitting machine than it is going to be to hand knit a tube. If I were to hand knit a tube or a flat piece of fabric, I would recommend using a large needle so that it would work up faster. On to the other tools that I'm going to be using today. This is a yarn swift, and basically it looks like an umbrella, kind of. When you put your yarn on it, my yarn comes in a skein like this. So when we take this apart, it's going to be a big loop, and we're going to put it on the yarn swift and roll it into two 50-gram balls. But sometimes, like, okay, so this yarn says there are 100 grams. Sometimes there might be an extra gram or two on the skein. So I'm going to weigh it just to make sure. So then I have, this is a scale. You can use it for letters, for mailing, but I use it for yarn so I know how much yarn is in a ball or a skein. So that's what we're going to do first. So I'm going to bring you down here so you can see what I'm doing. All right, first we are going to turn the scale on, and I'm going to switch it from ounces to grams. And then I'm going to try to ball it up and set it on top. See, we have 103 grams. So then we know we want to divide this into two balls of yarn, because what I want is I want a sock blank. I'll bring you back up here. So I want a sock blank that has two strands of yarn so that I can dye the yarn in a gradient, and the two socks will look exactly the same when I unwind the yarn. That is my plan. So 103 is my total skein. So I want to divide that by 2, and I want to wind this skein into 2 balls. So it would be 51.5 for each of those balls. Okay, next step, we're going to clamp this onto the table and start winding. I'm going to try my best to find the yarn so that we don't have any yarn going the wrong direction. So we're just going to kind of snap that out, loosen it up a little. Now, this yarn is Hawthorne Bear, and it came from Knit Picks website. They're a great resource because they have a lot of yarn that you can buy that's bare. They have a lot of options. So this is where I kind of hold a little tension here while I lift and widen my umbrella. Now I'm just going to fluff it a little to make sure I'm not tangled. Okay. Now, I actually need scissors, so I'm gonna go get some scissors real quick. Now we have two 51 gram balls. I did not do the half a gram. My scale doesn't measure half a gram. We want both of these skeins of yarn to pull at the same time and at the same rate. So the problem is you don't want this one to be loose and this one over here to be tight, because you see how when you go to knit those, if you're pulling this one tight and this one's loose, and if you knit that up like this, then you're going to have extra yarn on this skein. So you're coloring the whole point of your gradient where you want the socks to be even won't actually come out to what you want it to be. And I'm sharing that because I have already done this process once, and I have found in the last one that I did, I wasn't paying attention to the tension, and I think that there were some where the tension was tighter, because as I was knitting it up, the colors weren't exactly matching up on every row. I had to cut the yarn at certain spots to make sure my colors lined up. So I'm telling you that so you don't make the same mistake I made the first time I did mine. And now for the next step, if you have one of these knitting machines, we are going to go ahead and set it up and start knitting. If you do not have one of these knitting machines, now's the time when you can decide how you want, if you want to crochet this yarn, or if you want to knit it in a tube, or if you want to knit it flat. Let's cast on. I'll show you down here. So what I'm doing right now is I am casting on So in order to cast on, every other peg needs to have the yarn secured underneath. So the pegs that are going up and down, the first one, I put the yarn underneath it, and the second one, I put the yarn behind it. So this part I have to do fairly slowly, and once I get all the way around, then I can knit my first round. Okay, we are all done with the knitting part with the machine. Now we are going to cast off, and then the next step will be dyeing the yarn. That will be in our next video, but let me show you how to cast off. I did go and get a needle. This isn't the needle that comes with the machine. It's one that has like a little hook on the end, which is actually easier to use. This is the fastest one I found, real quick. And so here we go. We have This is all the fabric inside the tube. I'm gonna bring you down so you can see what I'm doing. We're not making a hat today. Sorry. My camera is not functioning. Stay. Everybody just stay where you're at. This is a little meticulous. I will definitely, once you get it, I think I'm starting to get the flow of it down. I just don't want to lose any more of our work. See, we don't want to lose any of these stitches. I don't really want everything to unravel. I'm unraveling. Sorry, I'm talking a lot. Okay, that was a little fun. I think that is the biggest struggle with this machine for me, is casting on and casting off. But I fumbled my way through the cast off and we did just fine. It doesn't have to be super perfect because we are just dyeing this yarn. We're gonna rip all these stitches out, and all these stitches at the very end are going to be the same color anyway because of the way our gradient is going to work out. I'll show you what I did. Okay, so this, let's see. Sorry, I have it kind of wadded up because I knotted it on itself, if you would have saw during the time lapse, just to cinch it tighter to make sure I didn't drop any of the stitches. That fabric needed somewhere to go, so I wound it and tighter in the middle. Okay, so here's my fabric. Here is my, basically my bind off. I'm trying to show you. So you can see, like, I did drop a few stitches. It doesn't look great, but that is really not a problem. I'm just gonna cinch it tight for a second and drop my needle because I don't want to accidentally lose my stitches. But I want to turn this right side out, so it's not the purl side, it's the knit side. Let's see. Let's look at our fabric. Let's move this out of the way and let's take a look at our fabric tube. Okay, see, this is just fine for a cast off. That's going to be the end of our, this is what we're going to unravel first. We want to make sure that we know which side we're going to unravel first. It'll be harder for us later if we don't do that. So I'm going to tie a slip knot to indicate that. So this slip knot is going to indicate to me this is the end that I will begin unraveling first. This is the end that will unravel last. And that's my cast on. And I think so that this doesn't unravel from the other end, I'm just going to take, I don't want to overdo it, but I'm just going to take and wind this yarn through a few of these stitches loosely, just so we don't have any unraveling. I don't want it to be tight and I don't want it to be hard to get out. I just don't want it to. So I know that since this is the part that's going to unravel first, this is going to be my cuff. Or if I choose to use a different mini for my cuff. But this top section that I've done this loop, this is where I'm going to pull from first. So if I want my sock to have a black toe and a black cuff, then I'm going to fold them up like this and dye the very top of both of them. I don't know yet how I want to dye this. So this is the fabric that we came out with. I'm gonna see, soft and squishy. Did a really good job on our tension. This is how you knit a double-stranded sock blank. This is a tube with the knitting machine Senso. In the next video, we will put some color on this. See you guys later.